I Bell. Some call me Jamila, and welcome. What we're doing tonight is I read to you. And I've been reading this book, Living Untethered, as I was saying earlier. It took almost a year to get through this book of study. I wasn't reading every single week. I may have tapered off every now and then based on my own schedule, but I stayed consistent to the book because this is a life changer when it comes to knowing how to handle toxic situations, handle your toxic self, handle relationships, handle issues, and learning how to be calm and ride through the storm. Um, I'm going to pull out an opening card. As you know, I always pull cards on my channel as I work with energy. I am a light worker, a spiritualist, high priestess, witch. Everyone that gets mad at me for calling myself a witch, I have no problem with saying what I am, because I choose the word witch because so many people look at it in a negative way. And I'm a positive being of light and love, and I only display love. I'm only there to help. But it has such a negative connotation that it scares people. But I'm not trying to scare anyone. I'm here to show you there are all sides to everybody. We all have these gifts and energies that we use. And the whole thing is, how do you display it in a positive way? And me calling myself anything, I don't like any labels. I really just say, I'm a spiritual being. I'm a human in this body. I'm a spirit having a human experience, as they say. And that's all I am. That's not all. That's what I am. I am that I am, just like you are. So you don't have to feel like I'm evil or I'm bad or I'm this or that. I've lost friends because they don't want me to call myself a quote unquote a witch. That's crazy to me. So I'm doing me. I love doing me. You know, I could stay as far away from anybody that doesn't want me for me and who I am. All right, before we start, let me open up some cards. We're going to be reading The Past, which is chapter 32, and I'll review 31 in a moment. But let's open up and cleanse the space. I'm using Palo Santo. And happy Sunday. It is Sunday, the day of Ra. Woo! The day of Ra. A lot of people don't know that each day of the week is based around a god, based around a highly spiritual being, something that was used, what they would consider witchcraft, we use for our days of the week. Today is the worship of the sun, but they have it as a holy day where they worship Jesus, which is fine. Or whatever other spiritual, whatever your path is, just do it. I'm cleansing my space, I'm cleansing my head, I cleanse my cards. Just be you. Be free to be you. When I think about that, I'm being called on to speak on polygamy. And I'm going to do a special session on polygamy because I believe in polygamy, and I'm going to explain why on my live, on why I feel it's something good and something natural. And if more people really took a custom, instead of having to be stuck on their rule of being one-on-one, is the way for them to control the masses. But in a polygamous relationship, you are free to grow. And there is a tribe, it's a collective of thinkers. I prefer the power of three, and then I prefer only a male with two females. I feel that this is my preference, my samskara, based on my experiences, that when it comes to a polygamous relationship with a woman being a receiver, her body is so sacred that you don't need to have more than one as far as a man is concerned. So I feel that it's more natural for the man to have two or more, whatever he feels is works for him, if he can afford it financially, or they work as a team financially, whatever they do. I have no judgment. But I think that it's a good thing, and I think it works. And I'm going to do a live about that, on why I feel that way, very soon here. Maybe on a new moon cycle. No. All right. So our space is clear. Let's go. So since the first set of cards, we're talking about polygamy, which back here in these days, this is the cards of Thoth. I'm going to pull down what symbolism is going to be present that we want to work with on this read. Oh, wow. Spirit always works with me. I'm telling you, I always invite spirits here that are going to be of utmost positive energy, love, and light, of our highest purpose. And this is a symbol that comes down, jealousy. As I'm speaking on polygamy, and I'm speaking on energies that hold you back, that may last from the past, built up, is jealousy. Jealousy is something that you always want to work on to not have. And this is the ancient symbol for jealousy. Look at the eye. It's all like really distorted with the blue. Jealousy is really a hindrance, because we're all unique and special. We're all wonderful. And if you could lose so much time on being jealous of someone. Sometimes jealousy can really be an admiration, but then it can turn toxic as well. You can have the duality, the polarity. Lower level jealousy, I was saying, and a toxic jealousy. Lower level is toxic. Higher level is admiration and love. But still being jealous of, why can't that be me? It can be you. You have the choice to do whatever. And in a polygamous relationship, as I was talking about a minute ago, there's no room for jealousy at all. So this is our first card. The way that oracle cards work, it works with the energy that's present. And I could be speaking on a subject, and that energy flow is what's going to come out through the cards. Okay, so you'll get the messages that way. So that's our opening deck. Jealousy, we want to work on that. All right, let's see what Ascendant Master is going to be popping out tonight to work with us. I love doing my cards. I'm going to go back to pulling my tarot, getting back to myself as far as my alchemy is concerned, because I have really tapered off out here on the grind, chasing the gold, I was setting up my businesses and getting ready for 2024, the way the government is flowing with us, taxing us. We can only make certain amount of money before they tax our ass. And man, I got taxed so hard this year. So I've been on the grind, but this coming 2024, this is first. My alchemy is first and foremost. All right, so I'd like to know what Ascendant Master is going to be riding with us during this time. Ooh, I love it. We have Mahatruhan Rogroski. I have not worked with this Ascendant Master, but the message is teacher. Hey, the teacher. The teacher tonight will be me. The teacher for yourself would be you. Okay? You are your teacher. And we also have those that teach us, those that we listen to, those that help guide us. So the focus is teaching. Yes, there you go. All right. And the next card that we're going to pull before we read is going to be with Isis. And it's an opening message because I've been working closely with Isis. All right. Isis. The message is, here's the back card. Stay true and be in your power. The message says this: you are a sovereign divine being with spiritual authority and freedom within. You do not need permission from anyone to be who you are and live your life as you so choose. This is your divine birthright. Guard it as the precious treasure that it is, and remember that you are a divine being, free to be you. It's a wonderful opening statement, okay? Be free to be you. Thank you for that. All right. I've been keeping this mask here in my space to remember to take the mask off. It's the time to take the mask off. Be you. As this message gives us a quote. Let's read. Y'all ready? I see a text coming through. People always texting me when I'm on my lives, even if I'm telling somebody I'm doing my live. They always say that. Last week, as a review, we covered low-hanging fruit, which were tools that we can use to try not to get angry and get frazzled. And the recommendation was to think about the weather each day and use the weather as a tool, or while you're driving, try to stop yourself from being in a bad mood or getting angry or frustrated over the behaviors of things that you cannot control. And I've been practicing that. I mean, I've been really going hard on this. You know, I'm not just reading the book just to help others. If I could help one person, then I did my job. But it's helped me tremendously because now I'm aware always. I could tell ahead of time if I'm starting to get a built-up vibration of being annoyed or feeling angry or disgusted about something. I'm able to pull back quickly now because I'm aware of it, and I've been utilizing the practices from this book to do so. It really works. So that was last week. This week now we're going into 32, which is going to be the past. So let's go. I'll get back to my texts later. Hey, the past, chapter 32. Oh, once again, this author is Michael Singer. Go on and get his book, Living Untethered, either an audiobook or hard copy. It's well worth the read if you don't want to follow me along here. Hey, I'm going to skim through this pretty fast. It's not a long chapter, but it's pretty, it's longer than the others. So let's get through it real quick. All right, he's saying this. You're driving down the street and a billboard reminds you of something that troubled you in the past. Perhaps it was an event that happened 8 years ago. What is the benefit of getting disturbed by that? You just ruined your day for no good reason. Just because something bothered you in the past doesn't mean it should still be bothering you. After all, it's no longer happening, he says. You think that since you don't want to go through it again, you need to remember how bad it was. That's like saying you need a doggy bag for the food that made you sick so that you can take it home. That reminds me of something in the scriptures. This is getting off topic. It's like they talk about going back a dog eating his vomit. Like when you keep going back to a toxic situation, going back and forth to friends, people, places that make you sick. It's like a dog that goes back to his vomit. It's the same type of scenario that he's talking about here, of things that happened in the past that keep bothering you. Why do you keep wanting to take that toxic shit back home with you over and over again? That's what he's talking about. Okay, he then says, okay. How come you want to take it home, taste it each morning, and remember how sick it made you? You never would do that with bad food, so why do you need to do it with bad experiences? He says. We are now ready to pay attention to another area that is very ripe for spiritual growth: your past. You probably won't agree at first, but it also falls under 100% cost and zero benefit. Of what possible benefits could it be to still be bothered by something that happened before that isn't happening now? He says. It's already over. There is zero benefit to being bothered by something that is not even happening. This is me thinking about that. I'm not sure if I 100% agree with that. In the big scheme of things, yeah, I do agree with that. But I feel I'm not going to necessarily say I feel that would be zero. It would be zero benefit, because the benefit could be in the long run, in my opinion. This is my opinion, not the author's opinion. The benefit could be the learning experience itself. Not harboring over it, but the learning experience itself could be a benefit. So I don't know. I toggle between that. So let's keep going and see what he says. He says, on the other hand, there is certainly an amazing cost. Your entire mental, emotional, and even physical health. Okay, so if he swings it that way, since he's swinging it that way, yeah, if you look at it in a toxic way, it can have a high cost, to your emotional health and well-being, to keep thinking about and being stuck on things that happened in the past. All right, so let's go. Instead, if you let experiences pass completely through you when they are actually happening, they will teach you, they will touch you to the core of your being and become part of you without leaving any scars. You will simply be able to learn from the experience and grow. Once you finally digest all the experience, you will naturally know how to deal with it should it happen again. If you touched a hot stove when you were a child, you have to keep remembering how painful the experience was in the forefront of your mind. He said you don't need to always remind yourself that stoves are hot and can hurt, because you already experienced that pain, he's saying. He then goes on to say, if you do that, you will have made a samskara. So that's what I was talking about, you guys. What samskaras are. That hot stove burning you created a samskara of remembering the pain of the heat of the stove. Okay, so then he goes and says this. Out of the experience, instead of simply learning from it, you end up worrying about it and worrying about things that are hot, and you can take yourself down a spiral that could really mess you up, but we don't. Okay, he then now says, don't worry. You will know darn well not to touch a hot stove again. He then goes on to say, similarly, once you have learned a sport or a musical instrument, you don't have to keep thinking about how to play it. It becomes second nature. That means it has integrated into your whole being. It becomes totally natural, and you never need to think about it again as you do it, he says. This is how all your past learning experiences should be. Effortlessly They're effortlessly there when you actually need them, never bothering you when you don't need them. Okay, so let's pause for that and ponder over that real quick. So we could have our experience, but we don't have to build up a whole bunch of emotion that's going to distract us from it. We can think about it. You might even have a little twinge from it, like you think about someone that passed away that we love, and you can get welled up a little bit inside. But then you let it pass, and you breathe through it, and you flow through it. Or an accident that can happen to you, and you kind of low-key kind of remember the pain, but you don't want to get stuck in the feeling. You let it pass, and you breathe through it, and you work through it. Okay, so that's how he's talking about it. He then says, if you process your experiences properly, again, they will always be there to serve you, never to haunt you. Okay, so remember that. Your experiences are to serve you, not to haunt you. He then says, perhaps this exercise will help you understand what it means to fully process something instead of having it to pass through your thinking mind. And so he wants us to do an exercise. He says this: just for a moment, glance at the scene in front of you. So just like, take a moment and just look up at something really quick is what he's saying. How hard was it for you to see it? Okay. Obviously, it took no effort at all. You just instantly saw it. What if the finest artist in the world called you on the phone and wanted a painting of what you saw? Right then and right there. How long would it take you to describe everything to them? He's saying, well, we're talking about every color, shade, reflection of light, grain variation in the wood, every single detail, he says. That would be a very long phone call, wouldn't it? The author is saying. Yet you saw it all in a billionth of a second. And this is me thinking. This is me talking. I'm talking and thinking at the same time. So I looked up, I see myself, and then I see the names, and I see all of you. So I'm thinking, okay, it would be hard for me to describe because there's a lot of colors, there's a lot of grain. It would take a long time for me to describe on the phone to a painter how to paint what I just saw. So he wants you to do this exercise so that you can think. He's getting to a point. So if you haven't done it, take a second to do it. And it does only take a billionth of a second just to look at something and say what you saw, see what you saw, but you can't describe it in a billionth of a second. So let's see what his point is with that. He says, this is the difference between consciousness, just seeing, versus the mind trying to process what it has seen. So let me read that again. The billionth of a second it took for us to view what we saw is the consciousness just seeing, is what he's saying. Versus trying to process what is seen. There is a difference. Okay? And I hope you all were able to grasp it. If you couldn't, then just hit me up. Let me know. We'll talk further about it. He then says, this difference holds true for all life's experiences. When you have an experience, it can simply come in and touch consciously, or conscious directly. So he calls it touch consciousnesses directly. Where am I? It doesn't need the mind to judge it as desirable or undesirable and then store it accordingly, he says. Just as you were able to see the scene in front of you in full detail without thinking about it, so you can integrate the fullness of your experiences into your being without having to block them in your mind. Okay? He then quotes, "There's nothing richer than a fully processed experience integrated into your whole being." Yeah, I hope that makes sense to you because I'm going to keep going. He then says, "How many incidences from your past would you like to truly be done with, rather than having to deal with them mentally and emotionally long after they are ancient history?" He's asking, why do you keep wanting to do that? Why do you keep wanting to go back into ancient history to keep thinking about these past experiences in a way that's not productive, is how he's explaining. Excuse me. He then says, in fact, to achieve deep spirituality, your unfinished past cannot be inside of you to reach your higher spirituality. It can't be inside of you. He said, it must be gone, not suppressed. So he's saying not held inside us, deep down, suppressed inside us, but it has to be gone, up and out, pushed out for us to reach a higher spirituality. He then says, you will see over time that when these blocked patterns are gone, all that is left is the flow of spirit. Hey, that's the flow of Holy Spirit. And once the past bullshit is gone, you reach to flow. That's Holy Spirit, okay? He then says, what is left is the most beautiful thing that could ever exist. And so releasing the past traumas, releasing the feeling of the burden of that past incident, dwelling on it, he's talking about. That's how you reach your higher spirituality, is to letting it go and releasing it. Okay? Thank you for joining me. I see a mad dog in the house. Okay, now let's go on. He then says, how do you let go of the past? It's very straightforward, the author says. The past blockages will come up on their own on a daily basis. And when they do, simply let them go. Okay? I'll talk about this real quick in regards to myself. Now, I've been practicing this for a long time. Like I said, I've been doing this work myself. That's why I'm sharing this book with you, so you can do the work as well. And I read the chapters as we go along, but this is the type of work that I've been doing for myself for years. And it's just an affirmation for me, and I continue to practice it. But when I come across the bullshit on a daily basis from following this pattern and this structure, I release the blockage right away. So the way that I release the blockage is that I see the bullshit before me. You know, somebody can be coming at me real foul, could be talking to me real crazy. You know, I deal with a lot of clients all the time, you know, with customer service. And I have private clients. I have clients that, you know, I'm around other people at times. And they come at me in a strange kind of way. So it may bring up something in the past that could trigger a samskara or a trauma that I can feel a certain kind of way, but I can catch it. Hey, thank you for joining me, Ben the Barber. Thank you. I can catch it. And when I catch it, I'm listening to whoever's trying to do the fuckery, and I can let my personal feeling go. I don't think about the feeling of the trauma on how I might have tick-tick-boomed on somebody's ass in the past that might have came at me that way. I don't think about that past anymore. I let it go. So that way, I can approach the head-on situation firsthand on dealing with whoever's trying to get under my skin at that particular time. and I'm able to handle it differently. And that is a real thing I had to work on, because I used to feel a certain kind of way. And then I would take it home, and then I would still be thinking about it. And there are times that I do still may think about it, but it'll go real fast. I let it go. And I learned that really through my law of counting to 3, mastering the law of 3, 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. That way you shift the vibration. And that's just my little trick and my little tool that I use, switching the vibration. All right, so let's keep going. We're almost done with this. He then says, okay, once again, the past blockages will come up and on their own on a daily basis. And when they do, just let them go. This is no game here, he says. It's quite simple. Outside events come, stored patterns come up based on outside events. So he's saying that our stored patterns, it's a pattern over and over again. They're going to often come up. He said, good. Let those patterns come up. Let the bullshit rise to the surface. But then he says, things are going to happen in your life that hit your samskaras. Shit's going to happen, he says. So what you want to do, he's saying, is if samskaras are in there, they are going to get hit. Let's see what he means by that. The world is perfect for each person's growth, but not for the reason you think. Okay, he says the world is perfect to fit for everyone's growth because everyone is looking at the world through their own blockages. And this is me speaking now. This is really important because I had to understand, not understand. I had to understand. And I'm hoping that this helps you to understand that everybody's walking their own journey. They have their own experience, their own feelings on what they think about shit, how they feel about things. We cannot have an expectation that they are going to understand, overstand, or understand anything about you, about us, about anyone else except for themselves, because it's their experience. What they see, the mirror image of themselves, is not what we see. Everybody sees things different. Everybody has their own experience. So everybody has their own blockages that they have to deal with. We're all different. Hey, Nick, thank you for joining me. And this is really important to me, this particular part. When I read this, I had to pause because everybody's journey is different in the whole entire world. There are no two people alike. You may have similarities, but even in astrology, just because you're saying the astrological sign, everyone is born their own individual self, specific time, place, DNA structure, everything. So we have to try to understand, overstand, and sometimes understand other people's blockages, because we all have our own traumas, fears, despairs, something that's happened to us in the past that make us have these blockages and triggers. And our jobs is to try to work together the best we can. Not saying put up with the bullshit. I'm not saying that you have to live with it or accept it. I'm just saying know it's there and maybe think a little different about things sometimes when we react. Okay, he then goes on to say, it's the time as with the Rotrish ink blot test. So if you don't know what the ink blot spot test is, the ink blot test, just real quick, I'll go over it, is a test that the psychologists use where they put up a picture. So it may have like a bunch of dots on it and stuff, or it may have a bunch of lines on it, or just a figure. And then you look at it, and the psychologist will ask you, what do you see? And then the psychologist will take a note on what it is that you see on that ink blot. And that's how the psychologist is able to work with you to see where your head is. What are your blockages? What in this ink blot picture is showing about you? So that's what an ink blot is what he's talking about. Blessings, Hazel Eyes. Blessings. Happy holidays, Queen. Okay, so he's saying that it's not that the ink blot is perfectly tailored to bring up your issues, he says. It's that you are looking at the ink blot through the veil of your issues and projecting your issues onto it. Okay? So I don't know if that makes sense to you once I explain what an ink blot was, but the author is merely saying is that you put your issues onto the ink blot. The thing that you see on this picture could be distorted or not distorted, whatever it is. But a therapist is going to see what your issues are based on what you see on the ink blot. Okay? He then says this. That's why the same ink blot works fine for diagnosing all patients. Just as the same world works perfectly for everyone's growth. So he's saying, you sum it up again, this is a really complex chapter. Everyone's growth is different, as I was saying before. So what we see, they don't see. And it's often hard for us to see things together. So that's where we have to work on ourselves individually. We could work in groups, like this is a group, but the whole thing is working on ourselves to grow. Okay, and that's why he says it works perfectly for everyone's growth, because each individual has their own pattern and their own journey that they have to work with. Okay, he says if you want to see what is really out there, you need to get rid of your inner issues. Author is saying get rid of your inner issues so that you can see out there others. Okay, so you can see the world as it truly is, in its glory and its beauty. Even in the darkness, this is me talking. Even in the fuckery, people are so confused right now. People are so upset, especially this time of year. They're stressed out. They have all that money stuff going on. It's sad, but we can't have no feeling behind it because these are their choices. We can't say. We could just have, say what we say and keep going. All right? Work on ourselves, work on our inner issues. Let's see what he continues to say. He then says, our scientist tells us that there's really nothing out there, really, he says. Just a bunch of atoms made up of electrons, neutrons, and protons. But we know in the big scheme of things that this is really something. This is everything. So in this particular paragraph, I'm not going to read it all in detail. The author is summing up about electrons, protons, and neutrons. Then he's talking about how quantum physics goes even further. And he tells us that there's really a quantum field of pure energy that has both wave and particle characteristics. All right. So what he then goes in is he's describing all of these different fields and energy fields. And he gets around to say that is us. We are made of all of these atoms, all of these energy. We are energy. And the energy projected out there bounces back and forth amongst us all, is what he's talking about in this chapter. He then talks about there are stored blockages even in those fields. that you can go and do research about. But I'm not going to read that detail because it'll take us a little bit longer. I'll go on. He says, to free yourself of the blockages, the moment you notice disturbances, let them go. The moment you notice disturbances, let them go. So if something happens, remember what I said, the power of 3, counting to 3, you can then readdress the disturbance and let it go. He says, don't wait until the initial disturbance takes over your mind. You are perfectly aware that you're beginning to get upset before you actually get upset, he says. You feel it inside you. You feel when something starts to bother you. And that's the key word right there, y'all, is starts. When it starts to fester, then you got to make a move. And we always know when it starts. It's always a trigger. You feel it inside. It's part of your heart-brain connection. It's both science and it's intuitive together. So he says, when it starts to bother you, let it go. He says, if you want to grow spiritually, that's the moment when you can do the work. Soon as it starts, let it go. That is where your spiritual work begins immediately right then, he's explaining. He then says, this is the essence of spiritual growth. If you work on yourself, you're going to create a beautiful place inside to live. This is more important than your marriage of your family. It's more important than your job or your career. You're working on yourself directly instead of indirectly. If you create a beautiful inner environment, you can have a wonderful marriage, a wonderful family life, and a wonderful job. But if you have a mess inside of you, he says, if you're a mess inside, you'll be trying to use these outer situations to make yourself okay. Okay? He then says this can work for short periods of time, but you don't want to build your house on sand. The alternative is when the scuff starts to come up. The second you feel that change, he's talking scuff. I'll say I call bullshit. He's calling it scuff. I said when the bullshit comes up, okay, and you begin to feel the change, relax. And I explain in my other videos, you can relax simply by just taking a breath and breathing and count to 3. Relax. You know, he says, don't even wait until you know what's about to happen. Just relax and let go. You can work with samskaras at the energetic level, then the mental level. So he's saying, first work on it on an energetic level. So an energetic level is just changing the vibration real quick, changing the mood real quick, changing the scene real quick, changing your whole vibration really quickly. And then work on it on a mental level. Go back and try to address it later to try to maybe figure out what had you feeling that way. Okay, and breaking it down, he says, this is much deeper. There are blockages in there, but they don't want to be in there. They want to come up and be released. Surrender is the act of letting go instead of resisting by pushing the blockages away. You will see it's not always comfortable when these disturbances from your past come up. The events weren't comfortable when they happened. That's why you pushed them away. Now that they're trying to release, you're going to push them back down for another 10 years, he's saying. pause it for a minute so we could think about that. You released the bullshit. You released whatever the trauma, the feeling, the anger, the despair, the anxiety, whatever it was, but you didn't release it. You suppressed it. So when he's saying, do you really want to keep suppressing something for another 10 years? Do you really want to keep having those headaches? Do you really want to keep having those body aches? Do you really want to keep having the freaking back aches? Do you really want to keep having to go to the doctor because you don't know what's wrong with you, because something deep down in your stomach is ailing you, that's eating you up? And it's usually some sort of pain of a past experience that's tearing your body up. We all do it. And past doesn't have to mean 10, 20 years. This is me talking about this. Past could be yesterday, and now you're fast forwarding and you keep holding it, and you're going to build it up over 10 years time. Or you have something back from the 80s, 90s that you're still holding on, like he's talking about. Another 10 years, adding on 10 years, that's 20 years of bullshit that you are holding on to on why you're not feeling well. You know, he's saying let it go. So let's see how he's closed. We're almost at the end of this chapter. If you are not serious about working on yourself, that is what is going to happen. He's talking about everything I just described is going to happen. You're going to be sick. You're going to be tired. Your money flow is not going to move how you want to, or you're going to be unhappy making the money. You're going to be unhappy trying to get to your goals because you have all that pent up baggage inside. He then says this, eventually you will take it seriously that the purpose of your life is letting go of those stored patterns. He wants you to eventually take it seriously, letting go of those stored patterns. Your blocked past is keeping you from God, he says, and is keeping you from having a beautiful life, he says. The same sincere effort you put into a relationship or into earning money, you learn to put into freeing yourself of these blockages. So he's saying the effort that we do to get out here and grind every day to get our coins where they should be, or working hard every day to maintain a level of lifestyle that we choose to live, we have to do that for our internal well-being. The author is really stressing here. Okay. He then says, remember this. It's not about renunciation. It's about purification. Okay? Purification, y'all. Purify yourself often. I do it really all the time. But I really go hard. This is me talking about myself. I really go hard on a full moon when I purify myself. I baptize myself every full moon cycle and purify myself. I don't need a church or a building. I don't need another human being. You don't need any of that. You can purify yourself. He's talking about the purification of your soul self on a daily basis, on letting go of stored bullshit, stored traumas, stored experiences that are in the negative realm. Okay? He then we're getting ready to close. He then says is this. It's about cleaning out the inside so you can have a beautiful life, both outside and in. At some point in your growth, you will recognize that freeing yourself is worth the discomfort of letting go of past disturbances. Look at what athletes go through, he says, for the Olympics. He's talking about For years, they put themselves through hell to win a gold medal. When I read this, check this out, okay, when he says this. He's talking about how an athlete will train hard, go hard, they spend a lot of money, they do all this stuff to get you to the Olympics. Hey, Greek Diva. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, my sister. So he's talking about how you go through all this stuff to get a gold medal. Okay, but watch what he says after this. You go and you win the gold medal and you feel proud for a while, but then that's it. It's over. It's over. He says it becomes a wall ornament, that gold medal, and it's over. Okay, so he's using this for an example. He says, we're talking about putting out a fraction of that effort to win everything. So he's saying, you don't even have to do what the athlete did to win that gold medal and then have it over. Me, I see a duality in this sentence. And I'm going to tell you what the duality I see in this sentence. The athlete did all of that to win the gold medal, but it was just for one moment in time. A fraction of a moment of success to feel the win of getting that gold, all that training, all that suffering, all that money for an ego thing. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I just want it to be food for thought for you all. Okay? You go hard, you train to win. But if that athlete has a trauma inside, they were able to remove that trauma to stay focused. So with that type of training, it shows you that in your mind, all is mental. Think like that athlete does. It really was a superficial thing in the big scheme of things to win the gold, because now it's over. But it was the loyalty and commitment to get there is what the win is. And if that athlete was able to put aside and forget all of their trauma, all of their pain, all of their suffering, to focus on that goal, we can do it too. And he's saying that it's not even that hard. He was using it as an example of going all in. But it's not even that hard for us to get to that level of knowing and releasing. Knowing that we're about to be upset and releasing it. Yeah, it's superficial and it's short-lived. It's superficial. That's correct, sister. All right, so let's get ready to close here. He then says, we're talking about putting out a fraction of that effort to win everything. So we get rid of our stored traumas and bullshit and negative and sadness and da-da-da. Then we win everything. He says, and the fruits of your effort will keep giving over time. So it's like planting a seed, which we're going to be going into the new moon cycle soon. You're planting a seed and you're going to win over and over again once you're able to release all those stored pent up blockages. Because it's going to keep giving back to you. Energy attracts energy. Remember? He then says, imagine not having these sensitive blockages in there. Imagine being able to enjoy the world as it unfolds around you. You can begin to appreciate life and wholeheartedly participate in it. What's that worth? He's saying that's worth everything. That's your life. Is to be able to participate wholeheartedly in everything. Hey, that's bliss. That's success. That's living life to the fullest, is what he's saying. He then closes with this. This is what happens when you're willing to let go of your past. This is a very important spiritual practice. You should be able to look back on your past and say this: thank you, past. Thank you. It doesn't matter what happened. Remember, every moment there are trillions and trillions of things going on in the universe. But you only get to experience one. How can you not appreciate the one you got to see? Okay? And what he's talking about is you. How can you miss out on your experience of your life journey here on planet Earth in this body as a spiritual being? How are you going to miss it if you're stuck? Okay? He then says, you come down to earth, and this is the experience that you had. That's what life is, a sequence of experiences you get to experience. Learn to love and appreciate your past. Fully embrace it. Thank it for teaching you, and let go of any judgment that there was something wrong with it. Okay? He says, your past is uniquely yours. It happened. It's sacred. It's beautiful. Nobody else ever had it, and nobody else ever will. Embrace your past, hug it, kiss it, and love it to death. The end. That's the end of that chapter. It says, love your past to death. That's a profound, cold statement. I love it. I love it. Oh, thank you, sister. I'm so honored. Oh, thank you. I love you. It's my little sister in the house. Follow her, y'all. Artistry Associates. She's an amazing artist. I wish I had her talent to be able to draw. I can only see and draw things through my mind, and then I can describe it to you. Anyway, that is it. We got through, wow. That was a deep chapter. It was rough. It was rough, but well worth it. It brought in a lot of heavy emotion for me because I feel and I go through feeling a lot, you know, and I could feel what the author is trying to communicate. And I hope you were able to. I hope it was beneficial to you. If it was beneficial to one person, that's good. If you feel like this read was beneficial to others, please pass it on. If you don't like reading books and you want to read a book, let me read to you. I love reading to you. And I hope you enjoy listening. Okay, so our next chapter is going to be 33. I'll let you know. It's going to be probably next week. It's going to be meditation. So right now we're in the hardcore lessons that we get ready to close out this book. It's going to talk about meditation and how to utilize that to move forward. Let me take a sip of my water. Whew. I have to breathe in on that one. That was a lot, you know, because our pasts are just, they're the drivers of our life. We all have all these preferences because of our past experiences, our past relationships, you know, the fuckery, you know, the happiness, the joys, the ups and downs, you know. Thank you, sis. So I'm going to get ready to close, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull our closing cards and call it a night and keep on going, okay? I hope y'all have what's tonight's Sunday? Have a wonderful week. Tomorrow is Monday. Today is actually the first day of the week. A Jewish community, today is their Monday. All right, so I'm going to close with our 3 cards, our Ascendant Masters, see who's closing out with us. We started out with a teacher. That was beautiful, right? So let's see who we're going to close with. All right. Oh, yes. Pavarotti. I love this this ascended master, and her message is positive change. This is all positive. The spirits come down and share this card with you. Go with positive change. Walk away with the change, okay? I love that. I'll read them cards. Yeah, I see your future. You see the positive change. There it is with Pavarotti. Thank you. Thank you. I've been blessed. I live within myself. I am that I am. You know, I live a simple. I don't do a lot of makeup. I don't have the energy. I give props to the women that really do their faces and do their makeup. I can't, but I'm just me. All right, let's see what other card we're gonna have over here with the Eye of Horus. Let's pull down, see what we're closing with. Ooh, we got fire. Yes. Oh, we could get together, Ben the Barber. Okay, here's our fire card, y'all. Let's walk away with this fire. Get that spark in you. Get that energy flowing. Get it going, okay? You got it. It's going to work with the positive change here. As soon as you have a positive change, you will spark the light. And this is the symbol for fire. Yes, this is a symbol. All right. And then we're going to have our closing message, as I've been working with Isis on a consistent basis. I love Isis. Close tonight's session with a word from Isis. Let's see what we got. Oh, I like it. Nice. Isis sends down a message. The pyramid of psychic protection. All right. This is important. And look at y'all. This is how I like you to see how when I pull and spirit works with me. Here is the fire. Here's the pyramid. This is positive energy. These are our 3 closing cards. So let's see what Isis has to say. The pyramid of light. As a being of light, darker energies may at times seek to interfere with your spiritual progress. There is nothing to fear and only more awareness of the power and protection of divine love to experience. The pyramid of light confirms that energies have been causing interference with your path, and it is now time for that interference to cease completely through loving divine power. There you go. Take this power with you, y'all. Take this power with you. Hey, take this light with you. Take this pyramid with you. The gods send it. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I love you so much. I pray for you as I ask you to pray for me. Let's go out here, make waves, send love, send light, send energy. I want to thank you again. Please like, share. I'm on YouTube at Third Eye Bell 957. Please subscribe there as well as I embark on that journey to share this energy with you. I want to give you peace. I'm out. Good night. Peace. Namaste. Good night.